She heard on the phone. She said, "That's a smash. Finish it."
What's up, guys? It's Silent, and I want to welcome you to another episode of the True Exclusive podcast. Now, today's show is a special show, so special that we have not one but two guests, and we are celebrating the debut album of this iconic album right here, Brandy's debut. And with us celebrating that album, I had to bring on some people who are a big part of that, and that is Rochad Holiday and Curtis Sauce Wilson from the group Something for the People. They are some iconic producers, writers, and we're going to get into everything that they've done for this album, what they think about 30 years later, and all the other stuff they've done. They work for some big names, and you're about to find that out. Can you both tell me about the first time you were introduced to music as a child, maybe?
I was first introduced to it through my parents. They were like huge music lovers. My dad sung and played in bands and stuff, and I picked it up there. And then through high school, started DJing and playing piano.
I was the same way. I was introduced to music through my parents, playing songs. Music was always just in the house playing. And my father played piano, and he kind of introduced me to a lot of music. He played a lot of jazz stuff, but he introduced me to music. And that was just my whole introduction to what it is. I started playing instruments in like the 5th grade. I think my first instrument was sax. And then I moved to the drums. And then he started teaching me stuff on the piano.
And what type of artists you guys first fell in love with?
I mean, we were listening to like Motown, Marvin Gaye, Stevie Wonder. I mean, that was just like a lot of what we heard. I think like one of the first groups was the Whispers. I remember the Whispers being like on play in the house too.
Yeah, with me, I think the same thing. First artist I was introduced to was mostly like oldies through my parents, Temptations, OJs, Stylistics, all that type stuff. And then as I got older, I got more into rap and stuff like that.
At what point did you realize, like, yo, this is something I want to do as a career?
For me, my brother took me to a Prince concert in 1982. It was Prince, The Time, and Vanity 6. And I remember leaving that concert saying, I'm going to do something with music.
Yeah, for me, I think it was pretty much the same thing. I think I went and saw, my mom took me to see the Jackson 5 at the, I think it was the Cow Palace or Circle Out, one of them theaters in the Bay Area. And I saw Jackson 5 and Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Hey, that's a crazy lineup.
Yeah. And then just from my dad, rehearsing with his band and stuff like that, every time they would come to the house, they may have a little, had the instruments, I'd try to jump on them, or the little drum machines, I'll try to figure out how to work them growing up. And then, high school, that's when I really got into like trying to make music and songs and DJing and stuff like that.
Damn, Jackson 5 and Prince, that is some out of this world first concerts.
And they just had an impact on us. So that just goes to tell you how prolific they were.
So can you tell me about, maybe for you, what was your first big break where you felt like, oh man, I made it, or I'm about to make it?
I think when I first thought I made it was I was working with, oh man, I forgot his name. It was a guy in Oakland. He was, I guess he was doing some managing or whatever. And he heard some beats I had made. I just basically sampled a bunch of different records or whatever. He thought it was incredible. And he wanted to link me up with his auntie. And so apparently he told her about me, and she ended up flying me to New Jersey. It's my first time on a flight, and his aunt happened to be Sylvia Robinson, who started Sugar Hill Records, and she was an artist also back in the day. and went out there and met with her, or whatever. And I thought it was about to take off from there, but nothing ever came of it. But it was a good experience to meet her and the whole Sugar Hill history and all that stuff.
Let me see. One moment that I had when I got out of college. Actually, I was still in college. I got an internship at MCA Records, and MCA at the time was hot as a label. I mean, they had New Edition and Bobby Brown and Guy and Loose Ends. I mean, it was just a whole bunch of like a really great roster. And it really got my foot into the door of the music business. So just being at MCA working, I met a lot of people and I met a lot of producers and artists and songwriters. So some of the producers would invite me to their sessions, and I actually became really tight with Timmy Gatlin, who was in Guy. And Timmy would invite me to sessions and would introduce me to people. And I remember when I was at MCA, I said, well, I told myself, I said, you know what? If I get my name on the credits of an album, I made it. I got my name on the credit of an album, like literally in the first year working at MCA. It was Sue Ann Carwell. Sue Ann credited me on her album. I was like, oh yeah, but I think I need a little more than this.
And so, at what point did you guys all get together for something for the people? And how did that whole thing come about?
The lead singer of our group, Fuzzy, Jeff, me and him linked up in Oakland. So we started hanging out and writing music together. And he had a manager and I think he had a group situation too, like a band situation down in LA. So he wanted me to meet, his manager at the time. So we came down to LA and started writing. He had like a little setup at the house. We started working on music or whatever. And then he introduced us to Augie Johnson, who was the leader of the group Side Effect back in the 70s. So Augie gave us a tape of a song that Rochad had produced. And he said, yo, man, I think you guys would be kind of good together. Here's the song he wrote. So me and Jeff took it and redid it and put Jeff's vocal on it, gave it back to him. And then I guess he gave it to Ro. I guess you could take over from there.
Yeah, so Augie was I met him through my cousin. My cousin was in a group, and Augie was working with the group. And the song that he gave to Sauce and Fuzzy was a song that I was going to do on the group. And so Augie told me, he said he played the song for me with Fuzzy singing it. He said, "Yeah, man, I think you'll work real good with these guys, man. Y'all will work real good." And so he said, Augie introduced us, and lo and behold, he was right because we met and we started working ever since. Like that was the whole thing. So, years later, Augie would see us and he would see us together. And he said, "You know, I'm responsible for this, right? You know that."
Like initially, I guess we started like writing and producing for other artists that Rich had that he was managing. So we were, getting our skills together, just writing and producing local acts.
Every day, like just daily, we were writing and producing.
And so we landed a couple production gigs with the Tamala, no, Taboo. What was the first one? Taboo Records, right? Yeah. And then we did a remix for In Vogue through Denny and Tommy Foster and McElroy, who put In Vogue together. And Denny and Fuzzy happened to be cousins. So they really gave us our first break on a real production situation. And so they ended up landing a deal with Capitol Records, and but they had a situation at Atlantic already. So they were like, "Look, we got this situation at Capitol, but we can't do it because we got the Atlantic things. So once y'all step in, be the group, we'll produce the album together. Y'all do half, we do half, and do it like that." We weren't thinking about no group thing. We was trying to be the next Jam and Lewis type thing. So I'm like, "Oh, we get a budget? Yeah, all right, let's do it."
So we don't come out as a group. We'd already named ourselves Something for the People, and we were producing as Something for the People too. So along comes '93, and we ended up producing Terry Ellis, one of the girls from In Vogue, and then we got a call from Daryl. Got a call from Daryl Williams, who was A&R at Atlantic. Daryl Williams said, "I got this girl that I signed. She's 14 years old, and I want you guys to check her out. I want you guys to write and produce some stuff for her." And that 14-year-old was Brandy. And ironically, we had saw Brandy before. We were in the studio, and she was at the studio too. Immature was at the studio recording, but it was kids, and they would just run around the studio playing and having fun. And she was just running and singing. You could tell she could just sing her ass off. She was running and playing and just singing. And and by the time Daryl introduced us to her, we were like, "Hey, that's the little girl from the studio." So we knew who she was.
So once you get that call, do you just all meet up? What's the process of writing for Brandy at that point?
I remember specifically Daryl saying, "Well, I mean, she's a kid, so we can't do like adult songs on her. So we have to find a place and a space that will work for 14-year-old." So we did try to best we could at the time to keep everything like young love, and just kind of happy kid thing.
I feel like Young Michael was kind of the template.
Yeah, young Michael definitely. What was the first song we did on him? Was it like Sunny Day or something, Sauce?
I think it was the other one that wasn't on the album. Um,
We cut a bunch of songs. We were like literally the first producers that she worked with on the project. So we kind of set the whole vibe. Yeah. And everybody came in after the fact. They heard what we did, and then Keith Crouch and Damon Thomas and
Kenneth Crouch.
Kenneth Crouch, Arvell McClendon, all those guys came in after the fact and did what they did.
But we like when we got with her, like we got really tight with her and her family and Ray J and mom and pops. Like they used to come over, we used to play bid whist and go to their house in Compton. Was it Compton? Carson. Yeah.
Carson,
We'd
yeah.
go over there, play bid whist. So it was
Yeah, we bonded, like we really, really bonded. Yeah, that was it, they would come over when they first started bringing her over. They would come and they would stay and hang out and everything, and they eventually got so comfortable they would just drop her off, and we would just go in. We were living in an apartment in North Hollywood, and she would go in Sauce's bedroom. The mic was set in the bedroom, and she would go in there.
And we got a little 8-track Tascam recorder in the dining room. All the equipment, keyboards, drum machines set up in there, and in that particular building, like everybody was in there, like Biv 10 and Val Young. It was like everybody was in that building.
Yeah, everybody was there. Like that was like everybody. Even before we moved in, like the day that we moved in, we saw Eric Sermon.
Oh yeah, Yeah.
over there. So it was like everybody was there all the time. Like it was just a hub for talent.
So you're cutting these songs with this. She was 13 or 14 at the time. 14. Cutting these songs with this 14-year-old. Can you talk a little bit about her voice and what you thought of her voice at that time, at that age?
We instantly knew she had it.
Yeah. It's like, it
It
was like,
was
there's no way you singing like this at 14. Like, what the hell?
yeah. Fuzzy was the singer of Something for the People, and he would give her something to do, like a run and a riff, and she would mimic him and do it like better. Like it was like she was as automatic. And I remember and Michi was like, man, she's like a little sampler. So
Yeah, we,
she
we
can
try to
like,
introduce her to all the bad singers that we knew.
yeah,
Check him out, check her out, listen to this. Like,
yeah. She was a sponge. She really soaked up everything we fed her. She just soaked it up, and the talent was undeniable instantly.
You know, through the years, her voice has been kind of a hot topic debate with the whole vocal Bible title. What do you think? What's your take on that? And just her voice in general and how it's evolved from the time that you worked with her all the way to now.
She's a mom. She's a beast now.
yeah,
She like I mean, and not just saying Brandy's probably top 10 female vocalists. She's in the conversation for real. Like, and it's
tone,
unique tone,
unique, unique tone.
vibe. She's always, even as a child, she always had that deep. She could go deep. She could go low with her voice as a 14-year-old. So I knew that would it somehow end up being like a staple for what she's able to do. And she had that natural rasp thing as a kid. I mean, I specifically remember when we did Dedicate Sauce. And we had been working with Brandy for a minute. I remember playing those chords at the studio, and me and you were to get the keyboard, and we kind of put a nice little progression thing together, and Fuzzy and Brandy were just kind of vibing to what we were playing. And then we actually went to the house and recorded. I remember he put some lyrics together, and it was just, the song was really about, she dedicated a song to the people who inspired her to sing. And Dedicate was an actual song, and they ended up breaking it into interludes. But that was probably one of the latter parts of recording with her, because we had been pretty comfortable with her at that point. So we created like literally on the spot in the moment. I
I
remember
remember one day she came by the apartment and by herself. She said, "I want to sing." She just wanted to sing something.
I do. Yeah. I remember that.
She,
Yeah.
she had me pull up "Dedicate," and she just did a bunch of ad libs
Ad
on top
libs.
of it,
Yep.
just off the top
Yep.
of her head. And
Yep.
I still have those ad libs on my computer of all the little riffs she did. Just for no reason, just popped up. Yo, let me sing something.
Yep.
Just went in there and just started riffing.
I remember. You know, it was a trip because a lot of these songs that we did on her, we recorded them at the house, but then we had to go to the studio and actually
And
do
try to
them.
recapture.
Yeah, but the sessions themselves, the memorable sessions are the ones that from the house that I remember. I remember those the most. The going into the studio and trying to recreate and recapture, that was actually kind of difficult.
So after you're done doing those songs, you just send them in and hope that they choose songs for the album?
Yeah, they pick the best of the batch. The label does. So we had done what we did, and we knew that she was going to go work with other people. And it wasn't long after we worked with her when I heard "I Want to Be Down" and some of the other stuff, and I was like, "She's out of here." At that point, I was like, I'm glad we on the album. I remember I was almost a little mad that they changed "Dedicate" into an interlude as opposed to the whole song.
I wasn't because that was three.
What? Well, now, I mean, in hindsight, now I'm like, that was like 3 songs,
Right.
but yeah, but
That was 3 extra
I,
pieces of money.
yeah.
So I gotta ask about Drake sampling "I Dedicate." What was your reaction to that?
Oh man. Our yeah, our admin company's called. It's like yo, so the song one of your songs from Brandy album Dedicate, Drake won that. Yep.
They just want to get your blessing
Absolutely.
to be able to
You
use
ain't
it.
even gotta finish the
Yeah,
question.
we got on the phone. 40 called us. He was like, "Yo, man, we just want to make sure we have your blessing." Like Saul answered him before he can get it all the way out. Yep, no
No
problem. Do
problem.
what you do. We didn't hear it until it came out. Um, we heard it when it came out. He just wanted to know that we were good.
Yeah, I was tripping because
Absolutely.
the original was like a 3/4 6/8 timing, and he flipped it into a 4/4
4-4. Mm.
time signature. And I was like, oh shit, that's crazy.
30 years later, what is it like to look back and know that you were part of such a classic album?
Best feeling in the world to know that when we were in that apartment in North Hollywood, we were a part of history. Um, I mean, at the time, you're obviously not thinking 30 years ahead. You're not thinking that far in the future. And I think that we were just, happy that she was just so talented and eager and bubbly. I mean, she was a kid. She had kid energy, and we had no idea that what we were doing would be, actually turn into a classic.
Yeah, definitely appreciative to be on it. I remember my parents liking it. That's when you know. Like, okay, if y'all like it, 'cause, my mom, she don't like nothing.
You know what? I don't know who said it, but I've always remembered this. They said that the Brandy album and the SWV album was the two albums that basically got us out of like New Jack Swing into like that 90s sound. And I think they nailed it. Like I think those two albums were the ones that kind of got us out of that swing thing into that.
So that album comes out, Brandy's out doing her thing or whatever. Now something for the people. We're gonna finally get to hear the music that we didn't get to hear. What was that feeling like? And did you have any idea "My Love Is the" would do what it did?
No,
It was a concept before it was a song. Fuzzy was on me and Sauce for
months
months.
about that
He
sample.
was like, "Man, I got this concept for a song. I need you guys to like hook up the beat." He was like, we were like, "What is it?" He was like, basically about a guy bragging about how good his love is, and the girl's responding about how good her love is. And he had a concept of the track, and he was like, remember the World Class Wrecking Crew? Turn off the lights, turn out the lights.
Oh, New Birth.
Yeah, we like New Birth. He's like, yeah. He's like, we do it to that. So we're like, okay, yeah. And he stayed on us.
This is one
And
night we
finally
was
we
all
started.
at the house in Chino.
Yep.
Tamara was there.
Yep.
Trina wasn't there, huh? It
Mm-mm.
was just Tamara and Angie.
Yep.
And I just, it's funny. Tamara just told me the story. She did not want to write that song.
Really?
So we got the MPC out and did the drums, and we just replayed all the music, had it on loop, and Jeff made her, go, okay, you
Yeah.
go write the verse, and this the hook, whatever. And she was telling Angie, I don't want to write this song. It's like she thought it was too subjective. You know, what I
Too
mean,
suggestive
suggestive, yeah.
on yeah.
And she really didn't want to do it. So she was telling Angie, "Help me write." She said, "No, that's on you. That's you. You got to do that." And she did it. And I remember, I don't even think,
Jeff hadn't wrote his
no,
verse
he
yet.
was still, Jeff. He be in his own
Yeah,
world.
yeah,
And I remember playing a snippet to Allison over the phone, over the house phone. See, we had house phones back then.
yeah.
and, and she heard it over the phone. Allison's the
A and
A&R
R.
who signed us, and Eric Benet at Warner. So she heard on the phone. She said, "That's a fucking smash. Finish it." So she knew we didn't. So we went on ahead and finished it. And man, the rest is history.
Yeah. I still didn't know when it was done. I didn't I had no idea. Like they were like, yeah, we're just gonna release it white label and just see who starts playing it. And they released it as a white label.
So they had white label cassettes. There was nothing on the cassette, just a song and a phone number. And a DJ, one of the DJs from the Bay Area, either from Camel or KSOL, one of the
Yeah,
Bay
one
Area
of those. Yeah.
R&B
Yeah.
radio stations, got a hold of the cassette and took it back, and they had it on heavy rotation on the radio up in the Bay Area
On a
on a
cassette.
cassette. Had no idea who the artist was, but the song just took off to the point they had to call the number to get some more copies because they wore the cassette out on the radio. And from there, they said, "Oh, y'all got a hit on your hands." Then it started blowing up. And they went on, printed up the real thing. We started hitting the road.
So what was that like now, from being mostly behind the scenes to now being front?
We were so used to being producers and writers and being behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know, but we had an album before My Love Is the Shit came out, and it was a producer's album. Let's just say that. But we ended up having to go out on the road and do shows and everything. We were like used to being in the studio.
Yeah, we was in the studio just working, and Allison hit us, "Yo, y'all got some shows coming up." I said, "Huh?" We never hear the records on the radio in LA. We had no idea, so we just in our producer and writing bags. Next thing we know, we got a show in 2 weeks. We said, "We ain't got no rehearsals.
We don't have no show. We ain't done nothing.
Look, we just gonna set up like a rap show, like a Run DMC type thing.
We were like R&B Run DMC.
I'll get on the tables. Y'all two go up front, and we'll just do it like that."
Yeah, Fuzzy was Run, I was DMC, and we would just go do a show. Yeah, that shocked us. We did a show in Memphis, Tennessee, and we didn't know what to expect. It was an outdoor like fair kind of thing. Man, we get out there and it was like 50,000 people.
First thing, we heard the song as soon as we got in the car from the airport.
Yeah, on the radio.
So that's our first time hearing the song on the radio. And we get out there, we hit that song. The song's called
Once this party started.
Oh, I'm thinking about the other one.
With you.
With You.
Right.
Because when we hit With You, the whole park was singing it.
Yep.
I was like, "Oh wow, This is crazy." Like just a sea of just black people just singing With You.
So, needless to say, the first album didn't really do much, but it wasn't as much as our fault. The label hadn't really set up the promotions department and all that. But when we came back and did the second album, which is, what My Love Is the Shit was on, we titled the album this time as Personal. And we did. There was a reason, because we felt like we got our ass kicked on the first one. So we like, yeah, we coming with it on this next one.
And then the video for With You.
Oh yeah.
The casting.
Who was in the casting with you? Oh, right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Lisa
Lisa
Ray.
Ray.
Lisa Ray was the lead in With You.
And she came in. She came in with a cast
She had a
on her
cast on her
foot.
foot. Yeah.
Yeah,
So they had to shoot her from like the waist up kind of
she
thing
was that good. Like she beat everybody out with a with a cast on her
with a
foot.
cast on the foot. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
And so looking back, because that was a different time in music. There was no social media. You
Nah.
know,
nope.
the way to promote your music was hitting the road or doing radio shows.
Yep.
Yeah.
And now it's all about got to do a video, you got to make a tweet, you got to
Yeah.
do some
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
content.
It's complete. It's completely different. Like 30 years later, like it really is completely different.
Can you talk to me about the change and the difference and how you adjust to that?
The adjustment for me was, I mean, it was kind of cool. I mean, 'cause I'm like a nerd, geek, freak kind of person. So I'm always into technology and stuff like that. So I, it, that part about it was good, but the other part is that it takes kind of the mystique away from a lot of artists because you just got too much access, and you know, too much anything is just not good for you.
Yeah. I think for me, it was in the 2000s sometime, probably like '07, '08. Sauce gave me a reality check one day. He opened up Billboard. It was top 10 songs in Billboard. And he said, look at this top 10 right here. And I remember looking at that list and he said, we got anything like these? I said, nope. He said, we're not in there right now. So it was a reality check only because when you really think about music, music is represented by decades. Like each decade has a sound. So it's a trip to hear people talk about the 90s and know that in the 90s, we were part of the 90s sound. And then the 2000s had a sound, and 2010s, and now we're in the 2020s. And as a writer and a producer, you have to be conscious of what's happening musically. Otherwise, you will fall out easy. You'll be doing what you do and think that it's hot, but it won't be relevant to what's happening musically. So, in order to stay in the game for some amount of time, you have to know what's going on musically and understand it. And if I think a lot of producers, their way of dealing with it is saying, I don't like it. I don't like any of this stuff. Well, yeah, you're gonna unlike yourself right out of being around. You better find a way to like some of this because not all of it is bad.
And speaking of the evolution of music, a lot of people like to say R&B is dead and it's not the same like the 80s and 90s. What's your take on how music is evolved or maybe how I personally feel like there is R&B out there, but it's not really being put on the spotlight.
I don't know. It's still out there to me. As far as I feel like it's still
I
there.
agree.
It's just
I
more
agree.
updated. It's more. It's got more of a. Well, when we started, I would say our stuff had more of a hip hop kind of feel, but hip hop has changed, and so now R&B now it still has kind of a hip hop vibe or a trap vibe, but it still has the undertones of R&B. You got Money Long and some more some other man,
Um, Lucky
Lucky
Day,
Day. Um, they're out there. It's just,
they're out there. They're
I mean,
totally
you
just.
gotta maybe some of you gotta search for it, but it's some good R&B out there.
I agree. I agree. I mean, when we were doing R&B in the '90s, we were basically taking like boom bap type stuff and mixing it with R&B. That was the Mary J. Blige kind of approach to what was going on R&B. And now, I mean, like you said, there's trap, there's trap beats with with R&B progressions and melodies and all that. So Bryson Tiller kind of brought that to the forefront some years ago. But music has always been a blend of genres for the most part. I mean, Prince was doing it in the '80s. He was taking new wave and mixing it with funk, and the really good ones are able to kind of mesh this thing into something that's really cohesive and sounds incredible.
Like I remember even back when Neil brought his dance song to the studio. I think it was Closer. Was that the first one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like I remember hearing that. Like I paid no attention to dance music, eating, none of that. Like it just wasn't in our household. So when I heard it, I'm like, what the hell is this?
Right.
You know. And then, but now it's like with social media and the internet and YouTube, you just got access to to everything. So I learned to appreciate it real fast after that. So I think that's another good thing about like the current state of music and technology and social media. Like everybody has access to a lot of different kinds of music. So you're not just in a box anymore.
Can you talk to me a little bit about the process of producing for someone who might not know exactly how that works? How could you break it down in simpler terms?
The process of producing from from where we come from was producing a whole record. So you come up with chords, drum patterns, um,
Bass lines.
bass lines, vocals.
You had to hire a guitar player or somebody to
You
come
don't play,
in,
hire a guitar player, hire whatever you don't do that well. You go out and get those
bring those guys
pieces,
in.
and now it's kind of reduced to beat making. So you know that's a little different than actually producing. When you produce, you got
Yeah,
where I come from, you produce the whole record, produce
yeah. Vocals,
vocals,
everything.
everything.
Nowadays, you can literally have a beat and send the beat to an artist, and they'll send it back to you as a song. Like you won't even be in the studio with them.
I've been doing it shit for probably since '98, maybe. Like our people would just send me artists to produce the vocals on top of some beat somebody may have, and like a few of them was actually Neil songs before we actually met. A mutual friend of ours, he had some artists, and he would send them to me to produce their vocals and arrange backgrounds and harmonies and stuff. And these songs happen to be songs that Neo wrote, and then and then eventually we actually we met and have been working together ever since.
What do you think makes a great song?
Melody,
That's first. Melody's gonna hit you first.
relatability, a song that speaks to the listener or tells their story as well. Um, I think that's the key point. Like if you can relate, if the masses can relate to what you're talking about, and it's easy to remember, those are pretty much
Yeah,
timeless songs.
yeah. Melody is key because sometimes you hear them. There's not any lyrics in the melody. Da da dee da 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 dee da da da. It's like it's just something catchy, and everyone the fire. Body say to you, body body It's like if you got a great melody, it'll stick. But the content obviously helps. But melody, melody, melody.
And for a producer out there, maybe up and coming, what would you say is the most important thing for them to know?
Like I want to say like know your instrument and a little bit of theory, but I can't say that's the main thing because there's a lot of people out there that don't know none of that and got some smashes. But it just makes the job easier, to get stuff done. If you laying down chords and you know taking all the time drawing in each note when you can just play it is, I don't know, it just seems like it would save a whole lot of time.
Yeah, and even to add to that, it just master whatever it is that you're working on. So if it's FL, if it's Logic, if it's Ableton, like really, yeah, know it inside out and use it to the best of your abilities. I mean, you may not necessarily be a great musician, but you have a good ear and you're able to put stuff together in a way that works sonically for the listener. There's a craft to that. I mean, back when we started in the '80s, Sauce, there were a lot of DJs who ended up being great producers. I mean, Dr. Dre, like, there's something sonically, like DJs have an ear
They have a
to like
they
what's
got a yeah they have a
happening.
pulse on what the crowd want to hear.
Yeah, and once they understand on how to put it together and everything, they know sonics, and that really helps you become better as a producer.
And to kind of wrap it up, out of all the projects you've done, is there one that stands out the most for you? And if so, why?
The one we on this phone call about, that was the start. I mean, like realistically, it was that project, that artist that basically took us from bedroom producers to people talking about something for the people. That it was that project. I, those are sessions that I'll never forget. They'll always stand out. I mean, we've had, you work with a bunch of artists over the years, but there's something about that Brandy first album that just was magical and will always be ingrained in my mind.
Yeah, same for me. The Brandy album, and I think and Will Smith too. Those sessions were pretty good too. Him coming out to the house and going back
Yeah,
to the studio, and the song
yeah,
almost not making
yeah,
it.
and
And then he's just so down to
yeah,
earth
yeah,
and
and
cool. Like it was just, yeah, that was a pleasure.
he brought a lot to the table though. Like I remember when we were doing Afro Angels with Will, and he was like, "Man, I want to cut this song, but I like the tone of my voice when I wake up." He was like, "There's something about it. If I do this song with that tone, I think we'll get it." And so we drove out to Westlake, and like at the wee hours in the morning, and he was fresh out the bed. Okay, let's do it. He had this this deep, fresh out the bed morning tone, and he was right. He was completely right. Like it was a different tone for him.
And what's the story about the song almost not making it?
Oh, so we had done just the two of us, and he was starting the mixing process, and the sonics of it, the way the album was going, he felt like it wasn't going to fit. And I was like, "Hold on, let me go, let me go back. I'll go back and fix it." So this was at Pacifique in North Hollywood.
Yep,
So I drove all the way back
yep.
to Chino Hills and reworked the track and brought it back, and
I remember that
then it was a go.
because it was different from the first instrumental that he wrote to. Yeah.
What was that time like? 'Cause that's Will Smith.
Yeah, it
Oh, it was.
it's funny because I did. I was always a DJ Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince fan through high school, coming up. Like that's who I listened to. And when he came out to the studio to the house in Chino Hills, we were going to we wanted to go get something to eat. I said, "Well, let's go to the Dave and Buster's." And to me, I'm not thinking Will Smith yet. I'm still Fresh Prince vibes. And we go there. I'm thinking we're just gonna go in incognito and be cool, get some food. The crowd started coming. I was like, "Oh shit, this ain't gonna work." He said, "Yeah, I don't think this is gonna work. We might have to go back
This
and
ain't
order
gonna
in."
work.
He said, "Oh, shit, I forgot you was Will Smith now."
Yeah, yeah, he was
Right.
a
This was
movie
right after
star
Independence Day,
at
huh?
that time. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that was super, super cool sessions. Down to earth, easy going, no drama, no diva. Like, yeah.
When we did Georgie Porgy with Eric Benet and Faith Evans, and and we went to the studio to record Faith. Eric had already done his part, and so we had never.
How we tried to go find her to do the song. Motown,
Oh,
was it
that part
Motown
I don't.
Live?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was like a little weekly
A
club
little
situation, right?
club.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so we knew our manager at the time knew she was going to be there. So he said, "Y'all should come down and ask her to jump on the song." So we go to the venue, and we're walking with Eric. It was me, you, Jeff, and Eric, right? So we're
mm-hmm.
walking, and she's walking towards us. And so we
Towards us,
about to cross paths,
about to cross
and Eric
paths.
stops her. He said, "Hey," she said, "Absolutely." Like he didn't. He didn't even have to finish asking her. She was down to do it.
So when we went to the studio to record, we get there and we had never worked with her or anything like that. And so, yeah, and she was like, "Do y'all mind if I got an idea? I want to do something. Can y'all just step out and let me do what I do and then come back in when I finish?" Like, yeah, we know you
But
know what you're
inside, we
doing.
was hurt. We were like, "Damn, I want to be in
Shoot,
there."
I want to be in there. I wanted to see.
But I
I
think
really
she's
wanted
like
to see
was
if
like super bad for singing in front of new people.
shy.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we were like, cool. So we just went upstairs, played pool for a while.
Yo, y'all throwing out these names, these big name vocalists,
we
rappers.
we're
Right.
drawing memories, man.
If you could put a super group together with three artists, whether you work with them or haven't, what would that super group look like?
Whew, man. Well, that hurt. That's tough. If I went, if I went, if I went the '90s, I would go Brandy, Faith, and Coco.
That's a good one. Hmm. Let me see if I can beat that.
Oh, you go '70s and you smash me.
Give me
Riri.
no. Give me Jasmine Sullivan, Tank, and her.
Tank is a beast. People don't really.
People ain't knowing.
Tank
They
is.
not knowing. They're not knowing.
He don't even be letting it out the cage either. I did a session with him. He had so much dope shit. He said, "No, no, no, that's too much." Like he just let all the straight stuff go. Like they won't get it. That fool can go, but he know how to contain it and make it digestible for common folk.
When you were saying "Give Me," it made me think of "Give Me You." Do you remember anything about that session? Because that's kind of like essentially a gospel
Yeah,
song.
Yeah,
that was
gospel song that we
that was
had.
some chords we learned from our gospel buddy, right?
Yep, yep. I don't remember much about the session. I do know Sonia wanted a gospel song, and we We had one gospel song, and that was it.
Did we cut it at the apartment or at the studio?
I think we cut that at the studio because it was late. It was late. Yeah, that was one of the ones with Sonya. Really, she was adamant about doing a gospel song.
Well, guys, I want to thank you for your time today. I really appreciate your stories. Some crazy, legendary
You
stories.
probably got more than you anticipated. Huh?
There's still more.
Yeah, nah, we like that.
You know what we did? What we didn't before you go. I'm gonna let Sauce tell you a funny Ray J story. When Ray J was performing at a talent contest. You got to, Sauce. You tell that better than anyone.
You tell it better than anyone.
No.
I barely remember.
Ray J was
I
doing a talent
remember
show.
making the beats for him to do the talent show.
Yeah. And he was up there, he was doing his thing.
It was a Michael Jackson song, right?
Michael Jackson.
What song was it?
The one that En Vogue started on the Smokey Robinson joint.
When I Had You.
Yeah.
Okay.
Treated You Bad.
It was that one.
Okay. Yeah. And it was a technical difficulty. Something happened where it either just stopped or something. And we was in the audience sitting next to Sonya. Sonya looked at Sauce and said, "Do something, Sauce.
Somebody go get him. Go help my baby." Yeah.
Ray J was probably like 12. He was a little dude. He was just standing there. It was probably like a minute of silence, but it felt like 10 minutes.
I had some technical difficulties like that with Celine Dion.
Yeah, Sauce's work with Celine Dion.
That was crazy.
Okay, so this interview is not over. You can't just throw Celine Dion out there like it's nothing.
Man. So we had a session. It was a song that Neo wrote, and most of the time when he writes for somebody, they'll send me to go, do the vocals. And this particular time, it was Celine Dion song. So come out to Vegas and recording at the Palm, at the studio at the Palm. So we get in there, and she's like, "All right, just let me know what to do. I want to keep everything." She wanted to do everything just like Neo did on the demo. And she had her engineer there. Usually I would engineer also, because it's just fast for me to do. But she already had her engineer and had his rig set up with her mic chain, everything she likes. And she starts going, she's singing down. I'm like, this don't seem right. Like she's like off. Like this ain't the Celine I'm used to hearing. Like I'm starting to get worried. And then she's like, "Is something wrong?" It's like, I'm not hearing myself properly or whatever. And this went on for like at least an hour. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Go in the booth with her and trying to see what's going on. And then one time she said, I feel like I'm in the bathroom in the stall. And that's what my headphones sound like. I said, oh, I know. Her headphones are out of phase. I know what's going on. I go in the booth and her plug isn't plugged all the way in for her headphones.
Oh my God.
I plug the things in. We hit record. She sings it down. One take. We're done. But through the whole time, like even her husband's like, you want to do it another day? You want to cancel? She said, no, I got this. I want to do it. But there was no attitude, no diva, no nothing. She was so cool. Professional, cool, down to earth, no ego, no nothing. Like that's another session I would never forget. Like
Can you explain for someone watching who might not understand what vocal producing entails?
Um,
What exactly are you doing?
it's basically like a director in a movie. You you just directing the singer, to sing the notes, the right notes, arranging harmonies and backgrounds. If you do that, giving them, okay, this is the next note. Let's do this, or let's try this ad lib. That's a little sharp. That's a little flat. Let's do this over. Just try to bring the best out of a vocalist, as you can. And I'm not a singer, so that's the other thing. Like when I give them notes, I can hear it. I can't sing it, but I usually just play it on the keyboard. Okay, sing this, or I can play the chords and give them all the harmonies. So that's my process. So I learn the song, learn the key, learn the chords, and make sure all the harmonies fit with the chords.
That's crazy. Is there artists who not no longer here you would have loved to be in the studio with?
Michael Jackson,
Prince, Donny Hathaway.
Biggie. Biggie, I would have just loved to see Biggie's process. Because all the stories I hear, I mean, I'm just sitting over there and, okay, let's go. And he just go and just lay it down. Like, I'd have loved to experience that.
All right, well, I really appreciate these stories.
We're officially done.
It seemed like it'd probably be a part 2 one day soon.
Okay.
I'm gonna reach out.
Okay.